heard, shut it off.
Mic check.
They don't want to hear me.
Good morning, everybody. Can we rise for the invocation of the pledge, please? Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning with joyful and thankful hearts for the beautiful place that we live in. I ask you today that you just look upon this meeting and bless us in the decisions that we make. Let us not be opinionated and always try to reach a consensus that's good for the visitors and the residents of Walton County. Let us also keep in mind, Lord, all the people to the east of us that are still suffering. It'll be years before they're back on their feet again, and let us continue to support them in any way that we can. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I appreciate the fact that no one knelt. I call this meeting to the order. This meeting to order of the Tourist Development Council, Tuesday, February 5, 2019. This is for the quorum. Mark Hodgson.
Aye.
Matt Hagan.
Here.
Tim Norris.
Present.
Trey Nick.
Here.
Tom Cooper.
Here.
Jennifer Frost.
Here.
Jim Shirley is absent. Stacy Hamilton.
Here.
Richard Veldman here. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda this morning, you all should have received. If you didn't, it looks like this. It's got some red lettering on the front page. Do you have one, Trey?
I got one, yes, sir.
Okay. There's been two additions to the original one that you all received. There are two items, one under new business, one under old business. All I need is a motion and a second to pass this and add it to the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is any public comments on the agenda items today.
Here we go. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning, Jay.
and Council members. I just wanted to get up and just, since this is a new meeting for many council members, just wanted to say welcome, lots of new faces. If there's anything that I can do or staff can do for you to help your job as a council member, please feel free to reach out to me. Anything that I can do to assist you, I'll be more than happy to. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
I'd like to add one additional comment to that, to the new board members. We run a pretty loose ship here. You don't need my permission to speak at any time. Just don't interrupt anybody. The chair doesn't have to recognize you every time you want to speak on a subject. And some of these items are going to be new to you, so that if you don't understand something, don't let us vote until you have a clear understanding as to what we're voting on, because some of this is old business that'll be new to you. So welcome aboard, all the new members. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of December 4, 2018. Should be in your packet under the blue tab.
approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any comments from the public? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Jason, good morning, sir. Good morning. For those who aren't familiar, Jason is the, I call him the financial officer of the TDC.
I get to do all the fun stuff like HR and finances and those exciting things, but
Don't you love titles?
yes, absolutely. But my name's Jason Cuttrell. Again, I'm Director of Administration. And good morning, Council, Commissioner, and Mr. Chairman. What I've got for you is a breakdown of the financials for the past 2 months that are complete. And with bed tax collection, it's just a reminder. Say for October bed tax collection, it's actually collected in November, and then it'll be reported at the 1st of December. So it takes about a month, but that helps do diligence with the clerk's office and gives us exact financials. You'll find more detailed work, too, in the 2 reports that I've given you, a breakdown of the spend. But with October financials, these are numbers supported in your financial report. Usually I highlighted the sections. In October, we're 8% through the year. With a 2% of the budget spent. Many of these items, it's because it's the very beginning of the year, so a lot of things haven't went through yet. With November expenses, we're 17% through the year at that point, with 6% spent. And again, the pie chart depicts 1 month of spending with a percent to each department of how much in that 1 month they've spent. This next slide is a snapshot of the most recent month for November as far as what we've got in bed tax collections. We had $2.6 million year to date for November. Anticipated revenue for FY19 is $25 million. That's a rounded average from what we earned last year, and we're at 10.56% towards that goal. Our bed tax collection in November was $976,289. And our retail sales were $5,778. So that's a total November revenue of $982,000. Reserves is broken down by pennies, and you can see more details in your reports on the last page of each one of the month's financial reports. But our current total is $45,249,301, and that's in reserves. For the next slide, and you'll see the same type of sheet in your report. That's our TDC collections. It's got a history of collections year over year. We track that back relatively far, and but this just has the current past 3 years on it. October, we're at $1,663,000. That was 23.11% above October of last year. In November, we were at $976,289, which is 18.41% higher than last year, with a year-to-date total of $2,639,320, which was 21.33% higher than last year. Of course, we believe the storm, damage and the demands for supporting lodging also had a favor in that, but we like to see the increase year over year, and you can kind of see the trickle back for the past 2 years. October, November numbers are relatively close as far as the growth goes. For December bed tax collection, I emailed those as soon as they came in. They usually come in right at the first of the month, and so I wanted to share that with you. We had $672,318. That was 3.19% higher than December of last year. So that's a good start to the year, and we hope to keep seeing that increase throughout the year. But if you have any questions too, you can always email me anytime or call me. I'm available. But if you don't have any questions over these past 2 months, that's October and November, I'd like to respectfully request approval of the October and November financials as presented. Yes, sir.
Jason,
Yes,
on the October, and it looks like November, administration, marketing, there was some overtime, and that was due to the hurricane?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what it was for. The overtime, the allotted time for beach employees, people that were manning the Emergency Operations Center. That's exactly what that was for.
Okay.
Do we fund part of the emergency?
As far as the Operations Center, what
Yeah.
we do on our part is we work hand in hand with them. A lot of times we provide that connectivity as far as communication goes to be able to communicate out and monitor social media and manpower it. So,
I didn't recall that we
Yes,
were
sir.
funding the emergencies.
no, sir. Anything else?
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Looks like we're looking good right now.
Yes, sir.
All right, we need a motion and a second to.
Motion to approve?
So the motion, who made the second?
I'll second.
Second. Any comments from the public? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the financial report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for that. One quick
Thank you,
update.
Jason.
Yes, sir. In the past, I've shown some slides that have kind of portrayed our increase in units and our amount of bed tax collection. We're starting a new, working with a new organization or a software program called Key Data. It's going to give us, along with that and Star Reports, going to give us a lot more detailed information. So we're going to give it a couple of months, work with those numbers, and try to give you some hard facts and bring it back at a later meeting so that we'll have a really good comparison scale for you. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, next item on the agenda is new business. 190106 is selection of the 2019 TDC officer and committee assignments. I think that's the orange tab on your books. The first item that we need to address, Jay, was that Pam that you told me? I forget which book I put it in. I'm
Yes,
working
sir. So
I'm working
Pam
I'm working
Avery,
off of two books here.
Pam Avery was secretary,
Okay.
and since she is no longer on the council, we will need to fill that position for sure. And then we'll need to decide if we want to keep the officers in their current slots or if we want to elect new officers. I will just point out that Commissioner Anderson made the recommendation to the council when he was still on the council back in October, that with all the change that we have people-wise on the council, that we keep the current slate of officers. So that was certainly just their recommendation. The council can take that under advisement as they, vote to either keep that or if they want to change it.
Do we need to do a motion on that?
They do.
All right, do we select a secretary before we?
I don't think it matters either way.
Okay. As the senior member here, I know that I'm talking to Tim Norris, by the way.
It's a senior member right there. See it.
I know that you've been secretary before, and since Pam's left as secretary, we wanted to give you the option of taking that position or stay where you are.
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay, so I'm gonna move Tim up here. All right, so now we have we need a motion to, based on Commissioner Anderson's recommendation, and I think Jay supports that as well, is that the executive officers are as stated. Richard Feldman is TDC chairman for this year, Mark is vice chairman, Tim is secretary, and Matt Hagan as treasurer. So let's have we have a motion.
Seconded.
Tom Cooper, Jennifer second. Any comments from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And we have 1, 2, 3, I guess 4 now.
4 now.
Right, open slots on
Correct.
committees that were held by previous council members. The first one is Beach Management Committee. Brian held that position. I guess at this point, we have those 4 slots, and we're open to a volunteer for any one of these, and then we'll vote on them.
I will volunteer for Brian's seat.
All right, Tom Cooper,
What is the commitment for those committees?
10 years.
No, I meant, is it a monthly meeting, quarterly meeting?
They're every 2 months. They're usually the month before the TDC
Okay.
meetings.
Every other month? then?
Every other month.
Okay.
Yep.
Destination Improvement Committee was held by Gary. We need a volunteer for it. And I have to appoint somebody?
I mean, I'll volunteer for one of them, marketing or destination, if somebody wants one or the other.
I was gonna say the same, so,
Yep.
All right, take your pick, or pick your poison.
You want to do marketing?
Yeah,
All right,
I'll do
I'll do
marketing.
destination.
All right, Stacy on marketing, Jennifer on... And then the last one we need to fill is Events, Activities, and Arts and Culture Committee.
I think since he's not here, I think that would go to Jim Sherrill.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
He would like that anyways.
I think he'd be good with that.
I'll make that motion.
It fits.
Let me just say something to you that if we pass this still has to pass the BCC. So I need a motion to move Tom Cooper to beach management, Jennifer to destination, Stacy to marketing, and Jim Shirley to events.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much. I thought that would take a lot longer than it did. All right.
Fun stuff.
All right, the next item is 0107, discussion of the proposed high tourism impact county optional tax allocation and redefine existing penny allocations. Let me just share with you, for the new council members, we are considered by the state to be, correct me if I'm wrong, one of 8 high impact tourism areas based on our bed tax collection revenues. So as a result of that, if the state has not yet approved it, we're waiting for an approval letter from the state, and then it'll go to the BCC. But we decided it'd be a good idea to kind of look at those allocations ahead of time, assuming that this is going to pass. I think 6 of the 8 have already initiated this high impact. It does not require a vote from the public, a referendum of any kind. And so we want to just kind of step ahead here a little bit, excuse me, and kind of decide how we're going to allocate this, and also if we have to discuss reallocate the other pennies. We've been kind of borrowing money from the beach nourishment. There's still a pretty good chunk in there, I think around 23 million. But at some point, if you look to the east of us, that doesn't mean something isn't going to happen. So we want to kind of quit robbing from Peter to pay Paul. And this high impact will certainly help that. And then there are some other ideas that we may have to push this forward. So if you look at your agenda, this would be your red tab. Jason, you want to just take over at this point? And,
Sure.
Okay.
I can backfill a little bit of information, a little history on it. In most counties, almost every county in the state of Florida, they require a bed tax collection. Our neighbors on each side do 5%, and that's their core 5% of bed tax collection. And we happen to qualify for the high impact penny, which would then bring us up to 5%. The spend is guided by Florida Statute 125.104, and that's how we can spend it. It's why we can collect it, and it also lays out why bed tax collectors need to pay it. The County Tourism Development Plan is the breakdown that you see in those paragraphs, and you'll see on one side that's going to be the most current breakdown. There's the first 2 pennies, which is the core. That's our overall administration. That's all pay, that's all benefits, everything with brand marketing, communication, sales efforts, beach maintenance, all the 70 access points, all the trash collection, capital improvements, infrastructure and equipment, all fall underneath those first 2 pennies. So that is the core driver. That's the first 2 cents that were authorized and approved back in '86, and that still is where we get our main funding from. The third penny was adopted later on, the beach nourishment funding. Realizing that the beach was the #1 main draw, Florida backed that, and so that's mostly all beach nourishment, beach dune restoration, coastline erosion, lobbying, advocating, federal financing, and our Turtle Watch program. All falls underneath that third penny. And then for the fourth, that's all product development, shoulder season funding. That's seeing that needs and wants to be able to push some marketing advertising to the shoulder seasons, and also includes beach safety, lifeguard, ecotourism. All of our grant sponsorship programs, code enforcement, and our beach ambassador all fall underneath that fourth percentage. So that's how we can divide up our funds. And with this, possibility request by DOR coming later in the month for the high impact penny, we want to bring it before the council here, so you guys are well educated on it, before the DOR responds back to us, so we can move it forward to the BCC. On the next side, you'll see a proposal for the 5%, if we do get that 5% in bed tax collection. The core funding still stay the same. That's going to be our main driver, our main piggy bank that we have to be able to function and operate with. With our beach nourishment, we're going to just only changed the title of that to beach management funding, so it's more of a direct on that core item that draws people here to visit every year. And so in that, the only changes would be we would possibly put the lifeguard services contract underneath that, code enforcement, and beach and ambassador program, so that everything that's beach related falls underneath that funding. That will allow us to be able to do a couple of things. It'll free up some funding, but it will actually be able to kind of put everything into one category to provide more support. By utilizing that funding that would normally go unspent on the third penny, we may be able to add almost $2 million to operations while maintaining the budget request the same. And then for the high impact fund, really looking at that, it's going to be, if it gets approved, it'll be a prorated year. So we'll have about 5 to 6 months where we actually would earn that, 5%, because we're halfway through our year now. But half of that would go towards, possibly go towards beach access and acquisitions. The other half will go towards capital improvements, building those beach accesses, major repairs, and so forth. So that's kind of a quick overview just of those slides, a little back history for those new members, with the bed tax collection that we have.
Did you hit the product development penny? I didn't hear if you
Oh,
said that.
yes, I forgot. Yes, and you'll see also underneath the third penny a transportation system. So that would be a proposal underneath that product development. The reason why, it would be a new product. So it would fall underneath the guideline that we already have for the third penny. It would just be something that would be now a priority. Every 2 to 4 years, we go through to do a new TDC plan. We have to do that according to the Florida statutes to be able to provide, here's what we're going to do with the money. Because every 2 to 4 years, priorities shift. Things change. So we want to make sure we're following suit with the priorities of the TDC Council and the community at large. Anything else? Any questions?
At this junction, we are open to discussion, suggestions, anything you feel should be added, deleted, moved, and I'll be the idiot that starts this conversation. To the people that are new on the council, we did a strategic planning last fall, and not only did the council members attend that, but we invited the public to attend that. We invited other bed tax collectors. Can you all hear me okay? Am I loud enough? I can't hear myself. To get input from both the citizenry, the bed tax collectors, the council, as to what was important. One of the things that came out of that, a couple of things. First of all, and I think it's important to keep in mind that the residents certainly have some input because we have a large impact on their quality of life in South Walton County. I think obviously a couple of the things that came back from all of the groups that met, and the new members, if you want to copy the strategic plan, I'm sure we could, all right, you already have it, was beach access and parking. And so I think that, that fits in really well. The other thing that came up, and the reason I say I'm the idiot, because I've been called the garbage man for the last 15 years. And I think that one of the things that we as a council need to look at, over the years we have tried to figure out a way to get the garbage collected from the single-family residential units that get twice-a-week pickup. If you're in a condominium, obviously you have a dumpster. If you stay at Sandestin, they take care of their own garbage. I think some other places do as well. There are some communities that hire private contractors to come by every Saturday and Sunday and pick up whatever's in the neighborhood. But I think there's 3 sources or parties that need to be interested in this. And I take it personally because I've been in the rental business for 34 years. And there's nothing worse than to put a guest in a house and they check in on a Saturday, but the pickup dates are Tuesdays and Fridays for that particular home. And so they're looking at garbage for 4 days. I guess that's probably the worst case scenario. And then you have the issue with the raccoons and everything else getting in there because somebody's dumped dead fish. I don't need to go any further and upset anybody's stomach. So what I'd like to suggest is that we at least consider, in an amount to be determined, and have some conversations with Waste Management, who I've already spoken with. They're all on board in helping us do this. Obviously, it doesn't cover the existing contract that they have with the county, but they are receptive to doing a 3-day-a-week pickup in addition to the 2 days, and obviously that's gonna cost more money. But I think for the people that come here and drive into Grayton Beach, or they drive into whatever subdivision, and there's garbage piled everywhere, and it's there for 4 days. And then the rental companies end up sending their trucks around, picking it up where they can. But we live in such a beautiful place, and they have this garbage laying all over the place. I just think we need to address it. And after 15 years of fighting it, I'm getting a little bit tired of it, but I'm not gonna quit. So I think there's 3 entities that can possibly involve. I talked to Larry Jones, the county manager, and they do have some access funds from the dumpster revenue, where Waste Management picks up the dumpsters from all the commercial locations, the condominiums and everything. And I think the second thing is that the TDC probably has an obligation in some way to help alleviate this problem, as we take care of, the medians, we take care of everything else, and then when they get to their house, it's not really what we want. And then I think the third thing, and it may sound contradictory, but I think the third thing, being in the rental business, if you own a restaurant, you have to have a dumpster. And the people that have rental houses, they're in a business. That home is a business for them. It makes income for them. And I think the homeowner has some responsibility, whether they use a management company, whether they use VRBO, or whether they manage it themselves. And I think between the 3, the owners of the rental houses, how many of the 13,000 are houses? I think it's like 10,000 are
That's the-
condos and 3,000 are houses.
That would be, the houses and the condos are the largest percentage out of all of them. So we were looking at 2 to 3% for all hotels, motels, and then everything else is the remaining.
75%.
75% is condos?
75% are vacation rentals.
Okay.
But that includes condos and homes, right?
Homes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we got a
it's
breakdown at
together.
one time of the 13,000 that most of them were condos.
I don't think it's broken out between condos and vacation rentals and then homes.
Okay,
We don't have that breakdown.
okay. Anyway, the other thing, and Trey, here's where I may want to lean towards you a little bit if we decide to proceed on this, is we tried to get the tax collector's office to give us the addresses, because they're the ones that enforce the tax collection, the bed tax collection. And we asked them for the addresses so that we could figure out what we needed to pick up and what it was gonna cost. And they refused to give us that information.
All right. Well, I guess we can get on that and check it out.
If you would, I think probably you ought to, I'm not gonna tell you how to do it, but I think probably start with Larry Jones.
Yeah.
I think he would be instrumental in helping.
Yeah.
So, not to take up the whole meeting, I'd like to get some consensus from the council that in the high impact fund, in an amount to be determined based on who we can get on board, but that we include in some discussions, and I'll be happy to be involved with this, would be Waste Management, the county, and the Tourist Development Council, in getting some kind of funding to get this garbage mess cleaned up. So I'd like to just add that to the discussion, and I'll leave it at that, so.
Yeah, I mean, Richard, what you're talking about is a classic example of an impact to the community based on the high level of, visitors that we have here. And I think there's numerous examples. I mean, but there's also, I think, dollars that need to be devoted towards transportation, parking. And, when I say transportation, I'm talking about a comprehensive transportation system, solutions to bring service workers that are living outside of the area on the north side of the bay. All of these, the system gets stressed, when you just keep piling more and more people in here. Garbage is a perfect example, right? So, I do think we need to see as much detail as possible. And so one question I had Jason, was this schedule you put together, all of those columns, does that represent the fiscal year 20?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The financial, the FY '20, that could be the possible,
Yeah.
recommendation on how we set up our budget for next year.
So is there an assumption about when, if and when this were to be passed, when those dollars would start to flow? Would it be
Yes.
an overnight kind of a change? You would go, say, 1 month it would be 4%, the next month it would go 5%? Would it be
Yes,
that
sir.
fast?
It would be, and that's one of the main reasons why we want to bring it up today, because it may come to fruition in between our meetings with the TDC council. So if they did as early as, mid-March to more than likely the beginning of April, talking to our Clay Atkinson and so forth on it, he said, it's could be as simple as that if it gets approved.
Yeah.
Department of Revenue is on board, so it could be a prorated amount. That's one of the main reasons. So I was like, could be 5 months of collection.
So, I
for
mean,
the remaining of the
one
month.
suggestion I would have, first of all, you're talking about fiscal year 20 here.
Yes.
We're in fiscal year 19
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
So, if this came on board, let's say it came on board at the start of next fiscal year, October 1,
Yes.
20, or October 1 of this year, ending in 20, you're gonna hit 26 million probably in TDT this year.
Yes.
So if you go from 4% to 5%, that's a 25% increase
Yes.
overnight. So I'm a little bit unclear as to why you'd be using, say, 26 million when if you ramped up 26 million by 25%, you'd be at about 32.5 million.
We
So-
would, yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a big number.
FY '21,
Yeah,
for that next year, once we've, received that $5 to $6 million for that one single penny, we would ramp up at that point. Then we could develop,
Yeah.
Once we had a approved plan, we could develop,
Right.
the additional funding. This is just sticking with what we have right now, what we're operating off currently.
so what I think would be useful is if you took your categories down the left side and said admin, sales, beach, et cetera, here's where we are today, here's where the budget is today in summary, here's what we would propose to go to in dollars under the new, with the 5 cent. And then we could start to see the differences in dollars, not just descriptions as to where you're talking about reallocating. Because there seems like we're talking about taking some of the dollars and, beefing up admin and beach nourishment and maintenance and things that are going to be needed because you're adding more people. But at the same time, I think you've got to have some ambitious projects out there too to address beach access, parking, transportation, which, really are covered more in the fourth penny right now, right?
Yes, sir.
So, just from a dollar standpoint, that's how I look at things from a money standpoint, of course, so I'd be looking to see where are we today, where do we propose to go, and maybe just do a clean tax year as a comparison.
Yes, absolutely. We can do that, especially once we know when we
Mhm.
could put it into effect.
Yeah.
If we know we can put it into effect, say we can't till June, so we know June, July, August, September, we would be able
Yeah.
to draw that in, so our 2020
Yeah.
budget, we could add that additional funding, and then what projects would we do at that
Okay.
point? Would it be a redo of this or build a beach access here? So absolutely.
In
Yes, I'll work
general, I
with you
think it's a good
one-on-one.
idea. I think we have the opportunity to do it. I think we ought to do it because we hear it from the public. We're feeling the stress of the additional visitors. We want the visitors, but we need to be able to manage it.
It's almost like we're being reactive rather than proactive on certain items. Certainly, I think the TDC has been very proactive in a lot of things. But now it's starting to kind of come behind and hit us in the back. It's just part of what you said, our tourism keeps increasing every year. And I think for us to be in the top 8 in the state of Florida is quite a compliment to what everybody's done. But I understand why Jason did this way, but from a worksheet standpoint, it'd be nice to have a spreadsheet showing that at some date in the future. Like you said, maybe it's October before it's done.
Sure.
But until it's passed, it's not a reality.
Okay.
So,
And I believe in April, when we have the April meeting, I think we'll have a lot more clarity. If Department of Revenue should have heard back by then.
Yeah.
So
And-
maybe
and if-
between
But if
then.
it passes the next one,
Yeah.
you're gonna have an extra 6.5 million in our budget.
well, and the thing is if it get passed before the summer season starts,
Might even
Well,
have it sooner. Yeah.
If I could interject there, so just real quick on the timing, In my conversation with Clay, there's a 30-day delay from when the board would approve it and it can be implemented. So that's number one. So let's just say the board said, okay, mid-March, we'll implement this. It wouldn't go into effect till 30 days later. So depending on the timing, if we do want to get this in place for this summer, there may or may not be a window just depending on when we hear back from DOR. We anticipate hearing back from them by the end of the month. Have not heard otherwise from our initial response from them. So not sure if we're still on track for that. I need to reach back out to them and just say, hey, we're still on track for a response from you. And I'll try to do that this week.
One of the issues that, let me just ask a quick question. Somebody makes a reservation at a lodging, and their reservation's made in January. They paid half the rent, or they paid all of their rent. How do you handle that situation?
I mean, they're going to be taxed on when they come. So if they made the reservation in January, but they come in June, and let's say it's implemented by June, then they're going to be required to pay the additional 1% tax.
I just want a clarification. Anybody else have comments, ideas? Now's the time.
Yeah, just make sure you add transportation on there. We've been kicking this can
It's in
down
there.
the road.
It's in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that we have that. We got to start working on that.
Yeah.
We
We-
really got to start working on transportation.
So we added that under product development. And then under the high impact penny, I would like to add to this, so we have capital improvements, beach access, but I would actually like to add parking as well as beach access. I think it's important that it's not just beach access, we need parking to go along with the beach access. So I'd like to add that to this. And then certainly to Richard's point, garbage collection, I think we're all pretty passionate about how our area looks. And so if that's something that we need to put some resources behind dollar-wise, then we should do that.
Let me add one thing. With this parking, it's not just for the beach. You guys got to look at the big picture. The picture is, it's not for just that beach access. You got to have some parking areas, maybe a little bit off the beaten path, but where people can come for a day trip. They can park their car, they can grab a bike, they can get a ride of transportation with our transportation system on this east side, down to Hub, down to Rosemary, Alice Beach. We've got to start thinking that way because it seems as though we're sticking to that beach access parking. We've got to start getting, we've got to purchase some property that's off the beaten path a little bit to be able to park these people and provide the transportation to them. We could actually have a little setup there where the TDC could have a little operation where we can give them information about what's going on during those seasonal months, 5 or 6 months out of the year. There's some important things we need to look at because we're getting behind the 8 ball again, and we need to really catch up. So I think this needs to be taken forward to the BCC ASAP, as soon as we get that approved.
Jay, didn't we look at purchasing a piece of property on Old 98 that was off the beach for parking?
We did purchase a piece of property on Driftwood. That's about maybe halfway between Old 98 and 98. And so we purchased that last year. The county wants to do some stormwater there, so they're in the process of planning that. And then once they get that planned out, then we'll move forward with the parking on that parcel. But so it's off the beaten path, as to use Tim's term. So we are looking at that, and right now we're looking at some property over by 393, and I was going to do a little update later, but I'll just kind of do it right now. But over by 393 in Leisure Lane, we're looking at some parcels there. But I'll say this as far as property acquisitions in general goes. Where we are with our reserves, we have $8.5 million dedicated for property acquisition right now. And then beyond that, we're done. So we need more funds. So this high impact penny would help us secure more dollars for purchasing property in the future. So just want to make everyone aware that $8.5 million isn't going to get us too far. We can maybe, depending on where the property is, buy 1, 2, maybe 3 properties, and then that we need to kind of start building our reserves back up for property purchases.
I just brought that up, that we are in fact buying property, or in the process of looking at property that is off the beach. So, and I think it will continue to be a priority. So, especially if you look at Old 98, it makes me sick because we have a beautiful access there, and that restaurant eats up all the parking for our visitors. And I'm not sure what to do about that situation.
Well, that's actually a public-private partnership that the county has with Pompano Joe's. I don't know the exact terms of it, but it was a partnership. So it's joint parking for both the county and the restaurant.
Okay, thanks, Jay. All right, any other suggestions? Tom?
I have a question, just for clarification. The beach accesses, are they insured like for damage? We have a storm.
I don't think they can hear you. Move your
What's that?
mic a little closer.
The beach accesses, how are they insured? Do we reserve for repair?
Yes, sir. They're all county-owned buildings, which they fall underneath that same suit, are insured through a policy that's ran by the BCC underneath it. So if we did happen to, generate a storm and get damage from those buildings, it would be a percentage or a portion of it that's already overinsured. I know on some parts of it we're self-insured. Others we do have insurance plans on it, but all of them are insured.
Thank
Yes, sir.
That's a good question. You know.
So-
But the parking issue is classic, because it's impact, and what happens is so many visitors, they fill up all the beach access spots, then they start spilling over into side streets, and then next thing you know, you're impacting the full-time residents. And I do think it's part of our obligation is to keep that fine balance, keep our residents happy. So it's an example of an impact.
Any other comments, suggestions? Mark? Been awful quiet this morning.
Well said, well represented.
This is the guy that just got two brand new knees, right? And then he goes and plays tackle football and breaks his ankle.
Wasn't the intention, wasn't the plan, but it was the result.
All right, the items that you brought up and that Tim brought up are listed in here, so I don't think that we need to add them, but I agree with you that they need to be emphasized. And are there any other suggestions or comments that anybody has, Trey?
I'm good. I like how it's going, yeah.
Okay. Jay, do we need to make a motion?
I was just going to chime in on that. I'd like to request a motion be made to make this recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners with the addition under that high-impact penny for garbage collection, and then add parking in addition to the beach access property acquisitions.
All right, on the garbage, do we need to delineate that any more other than just addressing garbage?
I think that's okay.
Okay.
Do you think that's okay?
And quick question on what gets presented. I mean, are you presenting dollars and cents over here, or is it just, this is all still very broad brush, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We, every 2 to 3 years, we do a plan, and that
Okay.
plan that we adopt is not connected. It's connected to an estimate of what
Okay.
we may earn over the next 24 months. So that would be put into it. We'd look at what we earn in each penny and just say over the next 24 months with this
Yeah.
high impact penny, we could earn this much. And then that much would be spent towards these items that we've named out, whether it be transportation, garbage collection.
So there'd be plenty of time to talk about the
Yes, sir.
allocations.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
if it's the board's wishes and chair, of course, I'll talk one-on-one with Mr. Hagan, and we'll come up with once we get and we know when we can implement the fifth penny, then we'll sit down and talk and kind of collectively come together with a plan and bring that back to you guys.
All right, so what I need is a motion for approval of the new allocation, including the extra high impact.
Motion?
I want to finish the motion.
My apologies. But approved.
I'm going outside and break my ankle. For the proposed 5%, on adding to what we have presently here in your presentation, on the high impact 5th cent, we want to address the parking issue into that 5th cent, and also addressing the garbage collection in South Bolton. So I need a motion basically on what I just said.
So motion.
Second.
Any other comments? Any comments from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very, very much. This is an important part of what we do, and
It's a great opportunity.
yes, it is. And thanks for letting me get my garbage in there. It's really important to me.
You're welcome.
All right, next item, I believe, is the request for a recommendation to the BCC to approve funding from the TDC to include a $30,000 line item in the fiscal year 2020 budget to be utilized as a grant match for the Florida Fish and Wildlife fiscal year 2019 to 2020 for artificial reef construction grant. And Jay, you're presenting that?
Actually, I'm not presenting, but I just wanted to make a couple of comments before Melinda Gates with the county comes up with the request. So just since we have a lot of new council members, the TDC supports the reefs and the Underwater Museum of Art. We have funded projects for years now, and so this request is not out of the ordinary at all. And actually, it's very good that it's coming up before the council beforehand, so we can allocate these funds as we get started on our budgets next month. So I thought the timing is very appropriate, but I'll turn it over to Melinda, and she can just kind of run through exactly what everything is, and then if you have any questions, you can either ask Melinda, or as far as historical dollars for projects, you can certainly ask me or Jason about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Good morning, Melinda.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Melinda Gates. I'm the Coastal Resource Liaison for Walton County. I hold many different hats in the environmental field for Walton County, but one of them happens to be artificial reefs. So every year, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission has an opportunity for grant funding that usually comes out in the March timeframe, or the deadline for this grant application is in March. It's a $60,000 grant that allows for construction of artificial reefs. We have, as some of you may know, we have a series of permitted areas throughout the Gulf of Mexico along the borders of Walton County. There's 16 sites total, and we don't have a specific budget for artificial reef construction in the county budget nor the TDC budget. So what I try to do is I try to seek out grant funding where appropriate to build up our reefs, to build up the fishing ability in our Gulf, as well as diving community, and just make additional ecotourism opportunities for Walton County and their visitors. So I'm looking at this particular grant that's coming due in March, and I'm going to apply for $60,000. So what I'm asking is in the 2019 to 2020 budget year for the TDC to reserve $30,000 to act as a match associated with this, so that we can make a bigger deployment than what just $60,000 can do. In the past, I've applied for these grants for the past 4 years, have been successful at receiving them. Last year, I utilized Restore Act funds to match, and so I was able to do, or this summer, I'll be deploying in the Miramar Frangista site, $150,000 worth of prefabricated modules in that particular site. And I've also done deployments with NERDA funds, where that was the $1.7 million that you guys may have been seeing in the news. So we've done a lot of deployments out there. This particular project that I'm proposing is in the Inlet Beach near shore. The reason why I've chosen that one for this year is it's real close to St. Andrews, so many people deploy their boats out there to go fishing. Also, we have a beach access point right there. So just logically, it makes sense. Hit those areas where we have direct access to get to those reef locations. You can go by motorized boat as well as kayak or canoe. So there's lots of opportunity. And again, this isn't for this budget year that we're currently in, but it'll be for the
FY 2020. FY 2020.
So
How near shore would it be to the access?
it'll be the Inlet Beach site is located about 3/4 of a mile offshore.
You say you chose Inlet Beach. Did you like do a survey with the residents or anything around there to see if that's what
No.
they wanted, or why did you choose that?
I chose that because
Besides
of the
the-
access. That's mostly what I look at, and I rotate them. So we did a deployment last year at Topsail, at the Topsail nearshore site. This year it's going to be Miramar, Frangista, and this next year I'm proposing for Inlet Beach.
So we'll drive more traffic to that Inlet Beach area, and as we all know, that's a contentious area with traffic, right?
It would.
Yeah, and those residents are pretty concerned over that area as well, right? Currently, that's why I asked if you asked that area
I
of
didn't.
who owned.
No, ma'am, I did not specifically ask them. Just looking at the access alone, being that we have a beach access and the St. Andrews area, a lot of boat traffic does come out of those particular areas.
Jennifer, one of the things, I think the inlet beach access is probably one of the widest ones we have, isn't it? It is huge. Yeah.
I didn't know.
And the other thing is, it's probably a little bit underutilized, because most people don't know about it. And so I think this might be a way to increase some of the
Yeah,
traffic to that
it's a
area.
very, that's the one nearest where I live right now. I mean, and rarely are there more than a dozen people, you know, in peak times sometimes, so
There's
it's,
just a lot of parking and access points.
I think the parking's very
There is
adequate.
plenty, yeah, there's plenty of parking there, and it's, like I say, one of the largest that we have, but it's also probably the most underutilized. And I think this may fall well into getting it to be utilized even more, so.
I mean, I love the idea, I just wanted, you know, if we asked people around that area, they wanted it there.
Can you launch boats there?
I believe,
Yes.
yeah.
In an inlet.
You
Yes,
can?
sir.
Where?
And in the beach, I thought we could launch.
We have a, access just east of Inlet called, North, or South, Lakeshore Drive, where there is a 66-foot public boat launch if you have the appropriate drive on the beach permit.
And that's what I was for when I was saying
Yeah.
boat access.
So you can get out to
It's
the
boat
site
captains
from
who
there.
have charter license. I mean, they can launch out of there.
Right, right, well said.
And then and the distance from St. Andrews is about,
Oh,
you know, it's close.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's very close.
Yeah,
Yeah, by a boat ride, you could probably get there within a half an hour.
yeah.
And this is just a county, SWARA, are y'all partnering up with SWARA?
SWARA usually partners with us when we do our deployment, so it's really a great public-private partnership associated with it. But the county is the only eligible applicant for grant funds, so that's why I apply for it. But yes, I always coordinate with SWARA, and we do good work together.
And that's professionally done too. I've been on those missions, a deployment of reefs with Melinda there, and it's professionally done the way it's laid out and brought out. So.
Melinda, what's the odds of you getting the $60,000 grant from FWC?
It is a competitive grant, and it doesn't specifically require a match, but when you add a match to it, it makes it more favorable. So I don't know what the specific odds would be for me getting it, just because there's all coastal counties in the state of Florida do compete for it. But I can say out of my track record, I've applied the last 4 years, and I've received grants the last 4 years.
I'm sorry?
I've received grants every year that I've applied.
Okay. I get, the only question that I would have, what would happen in a case where they didn't get the grant? Would we still be committed to the $30,000?
I believe it would be linked up with the grant, so we wouldn't do a separate deployment with that $30,000. Either it could be maybe reserved for the following year, or it would just go back into general funds.
Yeah, and we would certainly come back and consult and get direction from the council on that.
Okay. All right.
This may be obvious to a lot of people, but bear with me here. I mean, can you talk about some of the benefits of creating these reefs?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for those who are not as knowledgeable of our Gulf of Mexico, off of the coast of Walton County, we actually do not have much live bottom at all. We have a little bit of hard bottom, which means that there's rock surface or lime rock surface where some organisms can grow. But when you don't really have a whole lot of life, so you don't have coral reefs and things like that you think of in South Florida, you got to build it. So what we do is we use either prefabricated modules, or we use items that are made out of concrete or steel that microorganisms can attach to. When it attaches to it, it creates a habitat. So then it attracts fish, creates a fishing scenario as well as a nice diving scenario for people to take underwater pictures.
Sure.
So that's what we're looking for in these types of projects.
Got it.
Good recommendation. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
What are the council's wishes?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Any comments from the public? We have a motion and a second to give $30,000 for this project. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Melinda. Next item is part of the addendum that we voted to put into the agenda this morning, and it's under old business. Is a request for recommendation to the BCC for the approval of the 2019 to 2021 strategic plan. Jay, go ahead.
Just real quick, so new council members, we invited you to the December meeting that we had, so you can kind of be part of the presentation that was made. So we solicited input, and everybody was good with the presentation, so we did not receive any feedback other than, hey, it looks great, move forward. So we wanted just then to get the recommendation, the requested recommendation to the BCC that that they approve this, so we can begin moving forward with implementing the plan. If there's any questions or comments, we can certainly discuss that now at this point, but I think we did that last time, but I'm certainly willing to entertain any questions anyone might have.
Any questions or comments about the strategic plan that was presented at the December meeting?
I do just have a comment. Once approved and finalized, do we roll this plan out to our constituents and to the locals and to our industry partners?
We do.
In some sort of forum, meeting,
We do.
presentation? Okay. I think it's important for them
We
to-
plan on doing that at the annual meeting
Okay.
in May.
All right.
Jay, one question. I've read through all this. It's really, really great. A lot of great work here. Unfortunately, every time one of these sessions came up, I got tied up at work and couldn't attend, but I think you guys have done fantastic. Under industry workforce, this issue of, having kind of a shallow, pool of workers to draw from here. Was there discussion about, seeking input and affiliation with some of the local universities that are within, say, FSU and West Florida, Northwest Florida, and the hospitality culinary programs that they're all, trying to get off the ground?
We talked about that in some of our workshops that we had, and the thought process was, let's leave that to the experts who can do that, like the universities, and look for programs, but how we can, at the TDC, be a conduit to connect the industry to those folks. So that was kind of the course of the conversation, because that's not my expertise, and I don't think it's anyone else's expertise at the TDC. So how can we help facilitate what the needs are of the industry to the people who can help meet those needs? That's kind of where we left it in our workshops.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Any other questions or comments? Need a motion to approve the recommendations of the strategic plan to the BCC as it was presented and written.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further comments? Any comments from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And just a quick FYI, we will be bringing this to the BCC on the March 12th meeting.
Okay.
Bill Geis will be coming back in from DMO Pros. He's the one who helped facilitate the meetings. So he'll be coming in and presenting this to the board. And you're more than welcome to come to those meetings if you'd like.
I just want to make one quick comment. Both of the people that were involved in the strategic plan, I just want to compliment you on picking two wonderful, wonderful people that not only were fun to work with, but gave us toys to play with. They really did do that. But they were professionals in their business.
Yeah.
And I think we accomplished a lot, and the reason we did was because of those two people.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you. I'll certainly pass that along to them.
Yeah.
please do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Next up is director updates. First one is group sales. That must be Dawn. Morning, Dawn.
Good morning, council. How are you?
Good.
I'll click this along. Just a few updates from the group sales department. Last week, I went to Orlando with one of our hotel partners to present to a board of directors for an engineering group that was looking at us and 5 other destinations for a January 2025 meeting. And I'm happy to say that late last week we got word that we did get the piece of business. It's over $400,000 for January, so we're excited about that. Our upcoming trips, Connect Financial. We went last year. This year it's in Denver. It is to target the corporate financial segment, as that's a higher rated group. This is a one-on-one appointment, so we expect to have about 25 or 30 one-on-one appointments at this show. And then the following week, we'll attend Rendezvous South in Houston. Again, a one-on-one appointment show, expecting about 25 to 30 appointments for that as well. Just wanted to give you a quick update on calendar year for some of the things that we accomplished last year. Many of you who were previous council members know that we signed a Helms-Briscoe Partnership Destination program last year. For those that are new, Helms-Briscoe is a third-party company that is lead management and sends leads our way, 1,100 salespeople. So the previous year, when we were not a member, Helms-Briscoe contributed $972,000 to definite business in Walton County. In 2018, our first year of being in partnership, we experienced a 313% growth, which was a $4 million contribution from Helms-Briscoe. So we're excited about that. I will say that one big part of that, one of our partners signed a 3-year, multi-year agreement for futures. But even if I take that out, because that it's still a 250% increase. So we're happy about our efforts of marketing to that group, and we'll continue doing that this year.
Are you bringing them into the community for BAMs?
So this year we did a postcard marketing, like a drip campaign, just to get them familiar, and then some. We invited them to our lunch and learns when we were in their market. This year, I checked with our partners at my last lunch and learn and said, do you want to do a Helms-Briscoe FAM? And everybody was on board.
That's
so
great.
yes, we're planning to do that. And then Cvent, which is the software program where about 85 to 90% of meeting planners use this to distribute their leads. That was a big increase too year over year. Our unique RFP numbers went up about 6%, so that means we're reaching, 9%. We're reaching 9% new leads, but the big winner was the awarded room nights and contribution. Our awarded room nights went from 9,500, that's about midway down that chart, to 16,000, so that was a 74% increase. Means while we're getting new business, we're also getting larger groups to put into our partners. So we're happy about that. Update on our Discovery box. This is more information and what it looks like. You'll see that it's deploying in mid-February to 980 pre-qualified meeting planners. It is a brochure, about 20 pages, explaining the destination, and then it's site with the Viewmaster, taste with Honey Hutch honey and an emerald recipe. The black round is a scented candle that's called Turquoise Waters, and then an explanation of our beach sand. Downs and St. Germain deployed a meeting planner survey. We have not done a meeting planner survey since 2015. So this will be a good opportunity to find out from our planners. We sent it to people who booked with us, people who considered us but did not book with us, and then people who have not heard of us or considered us. So it'll give us some good insight as to what we can do as a destination to continue to increase our business. Specifically on shoulder is what we're really focusing on. So we'll expect to have those results in the next 30 days. And then I wanted to show you one other quick thing that we're doing, and that's competitive market ads in Cvent. So the top half of the picture, the one that has more of an orange tint, that's one of our competitors in another beach destination. So if you're a meeting planner and you are specifically sourcing that beach, and you may have never heard of us or considered us, we have competitive ads that now pop up to say, you're looking at this beach, but have you ever thought about looking at our beach? So we've specifically taken that photo because we think it's a good representative of what we are and what we look like. So we'll see what type of results that comes up with.
It's not fair, is it?
But it's reality.
Well, I tell you what, it looks a lot better than Fort Myers.
We're doing that in partnership with some of our larger partners. We've asked them what competitors they're targeting, and then we've spread ours out so that instead of us all hitting the same 3 or 4, now we're in 5 or 6. So our visitor center stats for November and December. November, we welcomed 788 visitors, which was a 28% decrease from 17. In December, we welcomed 707 visitors. That was a 23% decrease from 17. So year to date, fiscal year, we have welcomed 2,461 visitors, which is a 27% decrease year over year. Merchandise sales, good news on that front. November, we sold $5,778, which was a 24% increase from the previous year. And December of 18, $3,635, which was a 23% increase from 2017. So all total for this fiscal year, $15,425 in total sales, which is a 6% increase from the previous year.
That
Any
certainly will,
questions?
I've said this before, but that certainly will change when we move to the new building.
Yes,
We're gonna-
absolutely.
These numbers are going to be inconsequential at that point.
Yes, I agree.
And
Any
I'm sure some of
questions?
that impact was from the hurricane.
Sure.
Probably
Because we
some.
had less visitors and more other
I
types of
think so.
visitors.
Yes.
It's interesting. You had less visitors, but you sold more stuff.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Our
somebody's
Less
displaying it
tourist
better.
visitors.
that's right. And our web sales continue to be strong.
Just
Any
invite
other
the- Just
questions?
invite the snowbirds and you'll get increase in visitors in November and December.
We
But they don't
absolutely.
spend any money.
But they'll come there and visit. They'll get to learn about South Walton.
And now I'll turn it over to David for marketing and communications.
Don,
if
thank
no
you
other
very much.
questions. Thank you.
Morning, David.
Good morning. It's a tough act to follow. A lot of good news there. I'm the interim marketing director. I'm long-term director of communications. So wearing a couple different hats here today for you. Get started. We're adding to our family of publications. We've got some new looks for you. The visitor's guide that we just presented at the Perfect Awards, which I believe many of you were able to go to, actually originally came out in June, so we needed to do a quick turnaround. We gave it a new look, new cover, added some new photography on the inside and some new content. Big part of the new content, and the reason this is necessary is switching on to this annual cycle, is that the Perfect Award winners are in there, as is the Artist of the Year. And so we've changed the time of year that that's going to be announced, and we feel like it makes more sense to do it on a calendar year. So we're really excited about the Artist of the Year program. That's a great way to talk about art in South Walton and encourage that and make sure that stays part of our brand. Also, the Perfect Awards, that's something that we get to encourage our visitors to vote on, our locals to vote on, and that's a way that we can talk about our businesses and our events year-round and throughout the off-season. So that's another good program that we have. More on marketing. As far as the other publications, they're being updated as well, and the Scene and Explore are brand new. These are smaller pamphlet-sized magazines for people that are more drilled down on what they're interested in, and it's a little less to carry around. So it's easier to take to, say, sales and marketing conferences. We've launched some new ads that are pretty exciting. These ads actually live inside the web page that you visit. So it's not a pop-up ad, but say you're on a newspaper site, you'll get a South Walton ad built in there for you that you can see without leaving the site. And Lisa's going to show you a little bit about that, how that works by doing some clicking around. So basically what you have is the ad within the site, and then when you click on it, it'll open up what's a microsite for Visit South Walton. but it doesn't take you away from the page. So the idea is that it doesn't interrupt people. It's a little bit easier to access. There's a video involved in it, as well as we can make these microsites seasonally dependent. So the one you'll see, oops. You know what? I can just describe it. I'll just describe it. So the the one we had up for this season gave you access to see holiday events. It popped up a little video that would play, and that doesn't interrupt your experience quite as much. So we're hoping that's a good way to get in front of our visitors and people that might otherwise not want to click away from what they're doing on the internet. And we'll monitor to see how that continues to work. Can we go to the next slide now?
We're frozen in time.
So the idea is that you don't get interrupted when you're surfing the web. So a little bit of irony floating around in there. All right.
That was good, Dave.
on to some of our other marketing analysis. In this season, you'll see our click-through rates are actually excellent. The industry standard's right around 0.25. So we're nearly doubling that, as well as if you look down, our top performing placement is this Facebook ad. That's great because we can really target who we're marketing to there, and that shows with those click-through rates as well. As we look at sort of the overall website traffic in November, one of the differences there is that in the previous year we had a co-op partner with a sweeps program or a sweepstakes program. We're actually looking at getting away from sweepstakes. What we find is that a lot of the people that participate in that are only participating in sweepstakes. So we can see where they go when they leave our page, and in a lot of cases that might be to another sweepstakes page, rather than drilling down and finding out more about South Walton. So while there is a number impact there, it's not necessarily quality, and so that's something we're looking at, just making sure that we're getting the right visitors to our website. What I do like to see here is we've got a big bump in Chicago is showing a little larger than you would, and you can also see Houston, Dallas, and Atlanta performing really well. And organic search is actually what's leading the charge. Quick update, we mailed out the latest fall visitor tracking surveys, and that's on our website. We keep all our research that has been shared on the partner section of our website. So that'll tell you some of the visitor trends. The fall trends in particular are the kind of numbers I love to see. RevPAR is up, spending is up. So all good numbers in there and some fairly good insights. We'll be sharing soon the 2018 Economic Impact Report, and that is really helpful to our partners. It's really helpful to us when we determine our marketing strategy as well. Communications Director, David Demarest. Do a quick look at the numbers here. Trending upward and very well, actually. Some of these, because of how we present the month, some of these you've probably heard or read about on social media already. But our number of media visits, we've slowed down on that, but we're about to get about 3 travel writers in the area. So that'll continue to rise as well. We managed to get the Underwater Museum of Art nominated for the USA Today 10 Best by working with the editors there. We also won a Adrian Award for one of our feature stories that came from one of the travel writers we brought into town last fall. And as part of a media mission to International Media Marketplace, I was able to go up a day early and go to the Adrian Awards. The marketing team as well won 3 Adrian Awards, 2 bronze and a gold. So we're doing some good work, and we're getting some good recognition for that. At the International Media Marketplace, I was able to meet with about 27 travel writers. Format for that is really busy. It's a bit of a day. It's a little bit like speed dating with reporters. So they'll come and meet you at your desk, and you got 15 minutes. You give them the pitch or ask them what they're working on. See if there's some common ground there that you can send them more information. And we had some good meetings and are in the midst of doing follow-ups right now. I did want to introduce a new team member, Sean Streeter, back there. Sean is our new PR specialist. He actually has a great story. He came to the area originally as a travel writer himself. He was a media personality at St. Louis Radio. Loved the area so much that he moved down here and got a job working in radio as an on-air talent down here. With Hurricane Michael blowing down a lot of the radio towers, we had the opportunity, stars aligned, and he's already done some really great work. So that has been something I'm real happy to see in moving forward. Our pitch themes, meetings and incentive travel, family-focused spring travel, the new flight options that we have, making it easier to get to the area. The Underwater Museum of Art extended their submission deadline. Anytime we get the opportunity to talk about South Walton and the intersection of ecology or nature and art, that's a really powerful angle for us. It gets a lot of pickup, as you will see, and some of our media highlights here. So we've got some wedding stuff in here. The meetings continue to push that family traveler, photos. And as you look at it online, we've got a lot of the UMA available there. That's a great resource for us. Again, as a way to talk about what I did when I was at International Media Marketplace. So I'd tell them about UMA, and then I would show them the nearshore reef photos that we have too. So that's a way to say, hey, here's something we have that's unique in the world, and here's something we also have that's very accessible to you as a traveler, even if you just snorkel. And the clippings are always nice to see how they were laid out in print. So provide some of those for you here. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them now.
Good job.
Did a good job on both fronts. I love the little spin there.
I thought about putting on glasses for the second one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
We do the
Is
website.
that what that slide says?
No, that's Brian.
All right, I'm going to back up. I ran right by under research website update, and that was probably the most exciting thing we've got going. So
I was going to ask that question.
Catherine from Zinder is going to talk.
We were paying attention. We were paying attention.
For sure.
Yeah.
Who's steering the ship?
Good morning. Catherine Andrew from Zender Communications. We're the marketing agency for the TDC, and we have the privilege of building the new website. Here to give you just a sneak peek of it and some cool features that we're working into the homepage. We are aiming for a late spring launch. The booking portion of this is still up in the air, and we are in talks with certain companies hoping to have actual booking capabilities on the website once it launches. So we'll keep you guys updated there. Another thing we're doing is usability testing as we continue to build the site to make sure that it is useful for our visitors. That is one of our 3 goals. One goal is to show people who we are. So who is South Walton? Why is it different from other destinations? Second, another very important thing is where are we? A lot of people don't know where South Walton is. The South confuses people as far as where we are in Florida. So we make sure on the homepage to have that locator right there when they get to the site. And then third, of course, is helping people to easily find what they're looking for. But I'm just going to show you a couple of cool features. This is our homepage that we have working right now. You'll see our top-level navigation, obviously our locator that I mentioned, and then some information. Scoot this over. About the destination, helping you to plan your trip, some things to do. Exploring our beach neighborhoods obviously is very important. We have our map here, which I'll get back to. Accommodations, once that is all set. And then we just have some call-out information about the destination and great things to do here. We have a social media integration through CrowdRiff, so that pulls in user-generated content that has been approved for use and then also approved by TDC staff to go up on the site. So that just gives you a little bit of real-time user-generated imagery.
Can you go back to accommodations,
Sure.
please? Right there.
Mhm.
When somebody books on there, does it go to a bed tax collector's website?
Yes, that is still, that's with the company Jackrabbit that the TDC staff has vetted. I believe that is going in front of the BCC next week. But the intention of that is that people would be able to search by their dates for their trip, how many people, and see the availability in the destination. But once they click to book, it goes to the partner's website, and they actually, all of the booking is handled through the accommodation partner's website.
All right, my question is this. When that happens, is that particular bed tax collector able to track that back as a TDC source of booking?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Jay, in your meeting tomorrow, can I make a suggestion that you bring that up to those high-profile people? Because I think this is something that's going to catch a lot of people. Thank you.
And then all that was left under there was the footer. So I'm going to go back to.
Thank you for letting me interrupt you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Interrupt away. I'm going to go back to the map here. This is one of our cool features that we are able to use data and technology to really deliver to a consumer what they're looking for. So if your IP address is in a drive market, you get this map that shows you our drive markets and how long that drive's going to be. If your IP address is in a fly market, it'll show you that market and the airport to go to take a flight to our area. So that just allows the consumer to really understand, how am I going to even get there? We know it's pretty easy to travel here, but some people and some of our consumers don't know that. So making sure that we easily and quickly give them that information so that they can book their trip. Another very fun feature you saw when I looked at the homepage right now, it is daytime. So you saw a daytime photo. If you go to the homepage in the morning, you will see a sunrise photo, and you'll see that that water moves. If you go in the evening, you will see a sunset photo. And if you come to the site at night, you will see a nighttime photo. So it's really dynamic. It allows you to really feel like you're here. And then also every time you go to the site, if it's different times of day, it gives you something new. So you'll be able to see the destination in all of its glory during all times of day. So those are just some cool features we wanted to share with you guys. We're still working on building out everything within the site and everything's functionality. And also, like I said, we're going to do some usability testing as we continue to build to make sure that we're not getting to the end and having to change anything because visitors aren't able to click around and find what they need. So working on that now, and late spring launch is what we're looking at. You guys have any questions?
No, I'm impressed.
Awesome.
Yeah, great job. Some of these new features aren't being really deployed in other destinations that
Right.
I'm aware of. But I have used the Jackrabbit booking platform in the past, and the reporting details are pretty intense. So the lodging partner on the other end will be able to track and understand the referrals and the click-throughs to their page and their booking. So it's a great platform to use. But I think it's fantastic.
Great.
I
I'll
think
pass that
the other
along to
thing
the
it does,
team.
it helps build a bond between the tax collector
Absolutely.
and the TDC.
It proves the value of the TDC to the
tax collector.
tax
Yeah.
collectors.
Very impressive.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, we'll keep you guys updated. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for skipping her, David. Morning, Brian.
Morning, Chairman. Council members, Brian Kellenberger, Director of Beach Operations. Appreciate your time. Big welcome to the new members to the group. Thank you for your commitment to help us do our job there. Do we have clicker ability?
I am not Brian Killenberger.
Thank you, sir. All righty. We have two departments, beach maintenance and beach code enforcement. Beach maintenance is first, so let's talk trash. Beach,
Speaking of trash.
garbage up a little bit in November, very insignificant, a little bit up in December. Interestingly, you know, we're not getting to all the areas we used to get to, but we still had a little uptick in garbage. We did notice it appears more people are bringing garbage to our public beach accesses, where we are collecting it, of course, on every point on the beach. I just want to point that out to you. Multi-use path renovation projects, phase 2 of what's called the Western Lake Bridge project, still on hold pending state park approval of an easement and agreement for some in-kind services. We didn't expect that to be a very quick process, but we're still in touch with them and they're working on it. The pedestrian bridge, or the multi-use path bridge projects, we've started on those. They were Draper Lake, Deer Lake, and Eastern Lake. Draper Lake is almost finished. If you get a chance, check it out. It's looking really nice. This is where we replaced the wooden approaches to that metal span. And we went ahead and made them 10 feet wide to match when that path gets renovated as well. We'll start Eastern Lake here in the near future, and then Deer Lake will start probably early March, maybe mid-March. It'll be a complete replacement of that old rickety wooden bridge with a new metal span that'll go from asphalt to asphalt. So it'll look nice, and we're slowly getting all the bridges across our coastal dune lakes into that metal span that looks pretty nice. They're a little bit different design, which makes them unique, just like the coastal dune lakes. So like I say, if you're out and about, take a look at them.
Brian, how do those, curious, stainless steel rust on the coast? You know, I mean, everything corrodes. How, is this a special kind of metal that you use?
It is actually. It's made to rust, and that rust actually provides somewhat of a protective coating. I don't know the exact name for it, but if you look at them as you go across, they look brown. But if you get close to them, it's actually a type of metal that is made to rust that provides a certain protective coating.
Just like the new bridge, the bridge over the New River in Virginia is built the same way.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll find the name of that. You know, you kind of caught me off guard, but I'm aware of what it is. I just don't know the name of it.
Okay.
But,
I was just curious how that metal is going to hold up in our environment.
Preble Rish was the original designer of the first bridge that was built that way, and we've carried that throughout, that material anyway. You'll notice, like I say, that all of them have a little bit different design. Big Red Fish has the box truss, Draper Lake has a covered bridge, and then the one across Western Lake has some kind of arched rails on it. Looks pretty good. All right, moving on. Sorry, I can't see you. Regional neighborhood, is that what it is? Existing beach access renovation. So we've been under design and permit for a couple of years on all of our regional beach access and neighborhood beach accesses. The ones that were approved in 2016, we have started constructing those. The first ones are the neighborhood beach accesses in the Seagrove community and the Seacrest Beach community. So those are now closed down. Be a short renovation process. We should have them opened by the 1st of March. What it is what I call the facelift, new deck boards and new handrails and structure as required once we get all the old boards off with look and see, and then we replace that structure as needed. This is, they've reached their service life or approaching their end of their service life, and we also want to get it standardized so that when you're on public beach access, you recognize it. Right now we have a few different designs of the superstructure, the boardwalk and the actual handrails, but as we go through this process, we will get everything looking the same. So when you walk down public beach access, you'll recognize it as such. The next ones to be done are in the some more in Seagrove area and then in the Eastern Lake area. And then we also have a couple of regional beach accesses, Inlet, Fort Panic, and Santa Clara that we'll probably do in the fall. Do you have a question, Tim?
No, it just dawned on me that the regional beach access, we have one we're cutting a ribbon on this
Yep.
week.
That's up next.
Okay.
So on to that. New regional beach accesses. Dune Allen Regional Beach Access, we finally got done with design, permitting, construction procurement, and we are ready to start work. We have a ribbon or a groundbreaking on February 12th. You're all invited. You should have received a invitation via email. It starts at 2 p.m. I'd come a little bit early. Parking's limited out there, so there'll be some areas in front of the site where you can park, also down at our Fort Panic Regional Beach Access just to the east. And then we also have some right-of-way parking in between there as well. So come on out. We'll have some refreshments and be a brief groundbreaking ceremony. But it'll be the first new regional beach access we've built in some time, so we're all excited about it. 4 to 6 month construction period, and hopefully have that one open sometime summer. And then the other ones are our Miramar Beach Regional Beach Access. That's Scenic Gulf Drive across from Amalfi Coast Condominium Complex. About 60% done as design and permit. We made it through our land use changes, and should be 4 or so months before we get done with that design and permitting, and then about a 2-month procurement process, and we'll start building that one as well. We'll be moving money from reserve funds to fund these construction projects. We've known that all along, and so it shouldn't be a problem. The next one is our Seagrove Beach Regional Beach Access. This is to be built adjacent to Legacy Condominiums and across from Cafe 38. About 30% done design and permit. This area has a few challenges. We have some wetland mitigation we have to get through. We still have 8 to 10 months on design and permitting, 2 months on construction procurement, and we'll get started on that one early spring 2020. If it gets done quicker, we'll certainly start it quicker. Once again, we'll fund that at a reserve account. We've set aside money for these projects. Beach maintenance updates. Garbage collection, we're still doing the best we can with the limitations that's been given to us. We're not able to get to about 40% of the beach, mainly in the Seagrove Beach area, in between Western and Eastern Lake. We've got some solutions that we think would work. Will require some modification to our boardwalks and some lifts on them and some use of our utility vehicles. We haven't got full permission from some property owners of how to cross their properties to do that. We're looking at maybe some permanent solutions on the beach to store gators or UTVs. Not the best solution. Certainly increases the wear and tear on them and decreases their service life. But we've been lucky so far, as in the crowds had generally left when we were limited in our pickup. We're going to get a good idea of what the full impact is here spring break. And then if there's not some solutions put in place by the start of summer, so that'll be end of May, early June, we're going to really feel the impacts of how much garbage gets left on the beach, in the form of the wet garbage at our garbage collection stations, as well as the leave no trace items. Previously we picked up leave no trace with beach maintenance crews, and it was a very effective method. We ran down the beach every night, and if your stuff was left on the beach, we picked it up. And people were getting the word out, and it was slowly decreasing. But now we're not doing that. We're using code enforcement, which is a very inefficient way because we have to tag it, and then we have to get back to it. And since code enforcement is extremely limited in their ability to traverse the beach, a lot of stuff, I predict there'll be a lot of items left on the beach that eventually we'll have to come up with a solution for. And so we're looking at all different aspects of it.
So Brian, what have you done with the 40% of the garbage collection stations that you cannot
we pulled them off
out?
The beach.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Wherever we can't get to, we pull them off the beach so that we don't have our trademarked product out there that's not being serviced.
Sure.
And we've had some people ask if they can use them. We've not allowed that. Once again, we've given them information on where they can buy the product, but we don't want ours out there that look like our product. So, good question. Appreciate it. So a few new employees. Once again, we've been resourced with more employees. Kenya Johnson joined our group as a new beach maintenance admin assistant. She works primarily with Josh Irvin, our beach maintenance manager, to keep that side of the house moving. We got a few new beach maintenance specialists, Mike Hill and Mike Knight. And then we also added a new, what we call our beach maintenance technician crew leader. His name is Paul Hinton. He'll start in about 2 weeks. He comes from Crestview area. He's got some good skills on facility maintenance. So the maintenance crews do all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, painting, and all that kind of work to our facilities. Much needed position. that crew has been kind of under the direction of other crew leaders, and they had grown to the point where they need good direction every day. Beach code enforcement. This is our typical pie charts of what we do, our activity. As you can see, the contacts were about normal, 362 in November, 264 in December. That's overall contacts. That's down considerably, of course, because of the time of year. The other items are the main beach code enforcement activity we take care of, and that is glass, dog, and bonfires. As you can see, contacts were very low in each one of those categories. Dogs, of course, was up. Everybody loves to bring their dog to the beach. Bonfires thing. Vendor, very little activity. Updates. Once again, we're still proactive and reactive. How we deal with proactive on private properties, still a problem. Public property, of course, we have a good presence there. Reactive, we're taking complaints, and when we get complaints on private property, we contact the complainant, get access to their property, usually from the top side. And so it's not that we're not able to do our job, we're just limited in how we can do it.
Brian, you may not be able to answer this, or Jay might be. I think that was at our last meeting or the meeting before, Taylor Engineering was going to do a survey.
Yes, sir.
Is that in progress?
I'm sorry, I should have brought that up. It is. The task order was approved. They'll get started here shortly.
Okay.
Once again, their proposal was based on availability of their surveying company. And so I did talk with Matt Trammell yesterday. He had called, let me know he wasn't going to be able to be here. And I said, not a problem. But I apologize for not bringing that up. I did have that in the back of my mind. But yeah, so it'll be shortly. They'll have it done probably about the end of April.
Okay.
We'll have, then we'll introduce it into our ArcGIS system. And we were also approved to buy some really nice survey equipment for our own department that we can then use that data to locate different, components on the beach.
Might be a few surprises in that study.
Yeah, I think there will be.
Yeah.
Both, really where the mean high water line truly is.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Okay, more beach code enforcement updates. Like I say, leave no trace and wildlife lighting ordinance is, once again, it's items we're still looking at, but we're having a hard time getting to the beach to do it, but it's not going unnoticed. The beach code revision process, the February 12th meeting, we will ask direction from the BCC meeting on which items they would like to consider, and schedule a public hearing to listen to those code revisions and hopefully adopt them once. The big one is the managed vendor program. It's morphed into what we call the co-op program. The South Walton Beach Service Association stepped up and put together what I'd call a rough draft of a plan. The BCC asked us to develop a committee to iron out the finer details of how that plan would work. I think it's a good solution for all concerned. We try to do everything fair and equitable to all concerned, and it gives the county the ability to control the beach the way we'd like to control it, but it doesn't limit vendors from being able to service that beach if they'd like to. It won't be the same. I don't want to call it a free-for-all, but close to that. It'll be a contract agreement between Walton County and the association, the Beach Service Association, but they have provisions in there that other vendors can work under their umbrella without having to be a member of their association. But it does give us the components of attendant on duty, product managed on an hourly basis versus a daily basis, max number of setups, configurations of setups, mainly the inclusion of access aisles. And so I think it'll be a good step, and we should be able to iron it out here in the next month or a month and a half and implement the program.
We'll do it. Eliminate the ghost chair problem?
Yes, sir. That's the main thing. We realize that there's a lot of trial and error ahead of us. We're going to do a pilot program right now. Looks like we'll probably be 2 of the regional beach accesses, and those have not been determined yet. So I'll have more updates as we get into the next meeting. And of course, you can always call me anytime. I can give you updates as they move along in between these meetings. Few changes to code enforcement. Mutual agreement that our beach code enforcement manager, Jeff McVeigh, would step back to a beach code enforcement officer. We also changed the structure where we had 2 crew leaders. Those are now just regular officers, and we will be advertising for a new beach code enforcement manager. Those were all some changes that I think will make the department better. And as we work through this customary use thing, of course, we may see more changes. Part of the code revision process and that co-op program in particular is we're looking to add more beach ambassadors to the group. They would be static at the regional beach accesses. Their primary functions would be, 1, to monitor the co-op program, and 2, to help the general public stay in bounds. We've had some success in the past seasons with them being static at regional beach accesses. If we can catch the beach visitor in the parking lot and stop non-compliant behavior, it's much easier than once they're established on the beach. And so we also use that opportunity, for what we call beach etiquette education, holes, turtles, and stuff like that. So, like I say, as we move through that process, we'll probably be adding more beach ambassadors and possibly some more beach code enforcement. But that's up for the BCC to decide. Chairman, I'm also glad to announce that today we are changing the tent on all the beach code enforcement trucks.
Good deal.
Removing the dark tent and replacing it with a much lighter, what's called 55% VTR. That's the light transmission rate, and our LTR. And I understood the mandate. We had actually thought about it, previous to discussions with you, and so we've made the change.
Good
And
deal.
we've got 2 new Jeeps coming in today. That'll make 4 Jeeps in the fleet. We'll rotate out some of our older Toyotas and Chevrolets. And that's all I have is beach update.
Brian, great
Operation.
job.
Yeah.
Appreciate everything you do.
Thank y'all. If y'all got any questions anytime, you got my contact info, give me a call. And see you on February 12th. If you got any special refreshment desires, let me know in advance. No alcoholic beverages.
Why is he looking at you, Tim?
Good question.
Mr. Tusa, good morning again.
Good morning again. So, just a few updates, and I guess if I could have a theme, it's engagement. All of y'all came to the December meeting when we talked about the strategic plan, and something that we heard loud and clear in that strategic plan and in the workshops and the surveys that were done was more engagement on both a community and industry level. And so I'm excited. We have already started. Strategic plan hasn't even been approved, and we've already started on those initiatives of communicating better with our partners and the community. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about this morning with you is these are a couple of new things that we've done. This is the Sun and the Herald, and you can kind of see here, we took out full-page ads on the back of these publications, and it looks like editorial content. And it talks about all the great things that the TDC is doing and how we benefit the community of Walton County. We also have one coming up in SoWal Life. I think that'll drop. Is that next week, David? Yeah. Yeah, that'll drop next week, and it'll be online as well. So this is ways for us to get our messaging out just directly so people hear from the TDC what we're doing. Lots of people like to get on social media, and they kind of like to speculate on what's going on. Well, this way people can hear directly from us on what's going on. It's very important. So I'm really proud of this. And it's a work in progress. We're still trying to figure out if we create a little publication that we push out, if we do something like the annual report. That is pricey, so I'm not sure if that's going to be the avenue we're going to go. But this is very much a good step forward in us communicating our message to our partners in the community. Yes, Stacey?
Is there an online version within those publications' websites that will be available since it's an actual ad?
Since it's an ad, it is
It's
not.
editorial?
It is not. So we're also strategizing on how we can do that and if we can push that through social. We had a conversation about that yesterday. So like I said, it's an ongoing process. We don't have it quite all worked out just yet, but we're still making those first steps forward.
That's great.
So this is one thing, and this is more community-oriented than it is industry-oriented. But one thing that we're doing is starting tomorrow, we have a meeting with our accommodation partners. And so we are meeting with our top 15. We invited our top 15 bed tax collectors to a meeting, and 11 have accepted. So I'm very excited about that. That was a great turnout. And so, and I will just clarify this publicly. Top 15 bed tax collectors, if anybody can kind of figure that out. Jennifer Frost is one, and Mark Hodgson is another. But so we don't violate sunshine, Mark Hodgson is not coming to the meeting. He is sending his operations director. So I wanted to clarify that up front, that people might try to figure that out. We've already taken care of that. So anyway, it's going to be a great meeting. Lots of things to talk about on what's going on at TDC level, but also a listening session of what our partners need from the TDC and how we can be a benefit and working together as partners. So very excited about that. Like I said, I'm very encouraged by the initial response. So we're planning right now to do these every 4 months, so 3 times a year. And then we'll get some feedback from our partners to see if they think that's sufficient, if we need to meet less, maybe twice a year, or meet more 4 times a year. And also we're carrying that forward not just with accommodations, but also with restaurants and with attractions. And so we'll be having those meetings coming up in the next couple of months. So we plan on doing 1 a month. And then we'll kind of, like I said, see how it goes if we think we need to have these more or less frequently. So excited about those. Some other news kind of on an engagement front. I am now on the local chapter board for the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association. Jennifer Frost is also on that board. She actually called me latter part of last year and invited me to participate in that group, and I was very excited about the opportunity. And so we've had some great meetings so far. We had a awards banquet last week honoring the hospitality workers of Northwest Florida, both Walton and Okaloosa counties, and it was a great turnout. This year we had 270 people in attendance, and last year we had 150. So a nice growth there. But it was really nice to recognize the people who are just really working day in and day out tirelessly, representing our communities. And so I was really privileged to be a part of that. And again, thank you, Jennifer, for inviting me to participate in that program. We have branded that the Hospitality Heroes Awards. And so this was kind of the first year where we partnered with Northwest Florida and with the Lodging Association and also with Okaloosa TDC. They came on board as a sponsor as well as we did. So really great. Looking forward to that collaboration. They've also asked the chambers to be a part of their group. So I think there's a lot of synergy there. I think there's a lot of great things that we're able to do in the future as a group moving forward. So looking forward to that. A couple of weeks ago, we had our Perfect in South Walton Awards. And so that's where we honor all of our locals here in South Walton specifically, who are the hospitality workers for restaurants, lodging, just there's so many different categories for Perfect. I mean, there's almost, 30 of them, I believe. So great turnout. We had about 150 people who came to the event at the Grayton Brewery. And so that was great. And we also now this year combined our Artist of the Year announcement, and that is Jenna Varney. So I'm excited to announce her being the 2019 Artist of the Year. She's very, very excited about being part of this group of artists, previous Artists of the Years. So I think we can expect a lot of great things out of her and representing South Walton, the South Walton arts community. I don't know if you're familiar with Jenna's artwork. I wish we had a little sample of it here today. Actually, can we go back to the, you already closed it, don't worry about it, it's okay. Oh, is it? Let me see if I can just scroll through this real quick. Bear with me. It might be hard to see, but it's still worth showing. So if you see that scene cover, so do you think that's a photograph or do you think that's artwork? It's artwork, but Jenna is an amazing artist. I mean, her art looks like a photograph. So that is her artwork being featured on the cover of Scene magazine. So she is truly a talented artist. I mean, she's been painting since she's a young girl. So amazing artist. So anyway, like I said, we're excited to have her part of how we market South Walton when we do that, like with activations and through social channels. So looking forward to working with her in the next year. So you can kind of see that we're really committed to engagement on various levels. And so we're going to continue doing that as we really get the strategic plan rolling out. When the board gets that approved in March, we'll really start laying the groundwork for planning, further development of that plan. But I'm excited to say we're not wasting any time getting moving on things. Switching gears real quick, obviously, Mike Kerrigan sent you an email that he was leaving. He accepted a great opportunity at St. Joe, so we wish him well, and we'll miss him and his service to the TDC and our community. But I do want to say one thing, though, about his leaving is, and it's related to what the council did for me back in December, making a recommendation for a salary increase for me. And thank you for that, by the way. It was successful. The Board of County Commissioners heard you, and they approved the increase for me, so I appreciate them, and I appreciate you for that. But I think it opens up the door for a dialogue to make sure, not just for me, but for our staff, and that we're compensating our staff accordingly where we can attract and retain talent. It's very important. We have a really great team in place at TDC. I'm very proud to say that. But we need to make sure that we're able to keep those folks on board when we get them. And we need to make sure that we get good folks when we need them, when we need to attract that talent. So that's something that we're going to work on. Commissioner Glidewell asked at a few BCC meetings ago that the HR department start looking at salaries. And so that's something that the county is going to do from a county level. But certainly we'll be paying attention to that as the county moves forward with that. Because like I said, I think it's very important that we keep an eye on that. And let's see. And lastly, new building update. The new building, the board approved for us to move forward with a contract with Dewberry Preble Rish for the architecture and engineering of the new building. And so we are working on a contract right now to bring back to the board for approval. So we hope to have that. Brian, is that at the March meeting we're looking at that? March 12th meeting? For the new building contract to go back to the board. Is that March? Yeah, so that's the March meeting. We hope to bring that back to the board, and we'll get moving on that. But very exciting project that's going to take some time, obviously. We were talking to the engineering and architects at a meeting a couple of weeks ago that we had after the board awarded them the contract. And, we're probably looking at about 2.5 years here. So it's going to be a little bit of time, just design, permitting, that all takes time. And then obviously the construction for the facility we're talking about will probably take about 18 months. So, it'll be exciting, but we'll be bringing back, I'm sure, lots of great opportunities as we move forward through that process.
The sign looks really nice, the future home.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to give credit where it's due. I was going to talk about that, but Richard Velman, I guess about, 4 months ago or so, maybe 6 months ago, had said, hey, Jay, I have a great idea. I think we should put a sign there. And so, kind of, there are priorities in life. And so, unfortunately, that wasn't at the top of my priority list. But we got it done, and it looks great. So it just gets the word out that, hey, we have a new home in the future. So, but...
You might want to light the sign at night, because I think the power's off in the whole area, but it's a beautiful sign in the day. It's
okay,
great.
I'll have to take a look at that at night. I'm not
I think it's
usually
probably
in there.
because the power's off everywhere in the whole building.
I'll take a look at that.
Yeah,
But
beautiful,
thank you for commenting on that, and thank you for Richard for the suggestion.
Good job.
And that's it for me. Unless you have any questions, I'll be happy to.
Just want to make one comment, Jay. For me personally, one of the things when we started early and when you started, there was a real disconnect, not only between the bed tax collectors, but the residents. And even though the strategic plan hasn't been implemented, you're taking such a proactive position and moving forward on that. I just want to compliment you on that. It's very important that bed tax collectors, the industry, and the people that live here full time recognizes as a partner and not as the enemy. Yeah. And
That's well said, Richard. Well said.
Well, I just want to compliment you on moving forward and being so proactive and not letting that lay there. That means a lot to getting a connection rather than a disconnect. Mm-hmm. And it's been disconnected for a long time, mm-hmm. So I appreciate your efforts on behalf of the council.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and another point you made about taking care of your talent, we're all very sorry to lose Mike, but we've experienced it at our company with our hospitality company. You really have to nurture your talent, mm-hmm. and you got to take care of them, and you got to pay them competitively, because otherwise you will lose them.
Right.
They'll bug off to South Florida or Atlanta, mm-hmm. or maybe just the likes of St. Joe. Yeah. So I do think that's important.
And it's not unique to the TDC. I mean, I've had conversations with a lot of y'all individually, and we all have the same challenges here with workforce, and so it's not unique to us. But we're probably a little bit at a disadvantage than private entity because we are public. And so whatever we can do to strengthen our position is well perceived, I think, as we move forward.
Jay, is Mike's position posted officially yet?
It is not. So right now, David is doing the interim, and so I've just kind of been feeling people out and just asking of, hey, you have any recommendations? You know anybody? And I'll just be honest, I haven't gotten any anything that's promising. So, but we'll probably post it in the next week or two. Because obviously, when we
Because of
post it, I
pay.
mean, it'll be advertised. I mean,
I don't know what it pays, but I'm guessing that's what it is.
so I'll tell you to pay publicly. I mean, it's probably $85,000 to $95,000.
And do we know what our east and our west pay for that position?
I do not.
Yeah, that would be an interesting. to
Yeah.
know.
So right now,
Even
I
though
know.
we're higher bed tax than
I know the Okaloosa TDC is looking at what compensations are. They actually asked us for what we're paying our employees. They did a request for our salaries. And so they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're aware of that, and so they're trying to see what's a good rate of pay.
It's kind of complicated from the standpoint, or convoluted, but I guess a better word, because, you're a public. Yeah, but you really need private individuals where you compete with private industry.
Right.
So-
Well, especially for our industry. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like it's somebody, a clerk who's sitting in an office who does something that very well is not an industry. I mean, so.
Are we members of Destinations International,
We are.
formerly DMAI? Because I think they have a salary survey accessible to members, so it may be a good, and they do it by budget, so you can look at, what
They do, and
somebody
I
in the budget
believe,
range.
I'm not sure if the new one's out, but they just did a survey, I think late last year. So I'm not sure if the new one's out, because we were looking at purchasing that. It was kind of pricey, but I think it was the old data, and I was like, well, I'd rather wait for the new data, because I think it was 2014, which
Yeah.
at this
Oh,
point, that's pretty old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other questions for me?
Thank you, Jerry.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
This is an opportunity for anybody on the council to make any comments.
Just happy to be here. Thank you.
Well,
Happy to have you.
again, we welcome you aboard and look forward to working with all the new members, and we're excited to have you on board, each and every one of you. I feel kind of sorry for Jim, because he got appointed to something, he doesn't even know it yet. Are there any,
That'll teach you.
you better show up.
Yeah.
'Cause never mind, I won't go there. Are there any public comments? None seen. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Please shut your mics off.
We're working with you.
You too, you as well.
Matt?
Mark.
Get around, my
It was a
friend.
short meeting.
Haven't seen you lately.
How about those knees? Yeah.
Knees